And so in Mark chapter 5, if you're there, flip over. Jesus was on the water in a boat with the disciples. Jesus was always, it seemed like, going around water. He was always around water, either on a boat or walking by the sea. They came to the other side of the sea. So there was a journey. So they crossed the sea, Jesus and the disciples, to the country of the Gerasenes. And when Jesus had stepped out of the boat, how quickly, do you see? Immediately, there met him out of the tombs a man with an unclean spirit. So this man had some issues, right? This man was a possessed man. He had an unclean spirit. And the next few verses describe it. Look at verse 3. He lived among the tombs, and no one could bind him anymore, not even with a chain. So apparently, up until this point, they had bound him before. You see that because they can't bind him anymore. If they can't bind him anymore, that means at one point they could bind him, and now chains won't even hold this guy. Look at verse 4. For he had often been bound with shackles and chains, but he wrenched the chains apart, and he broke the shackles in pieces. No one had the strength to subdue him. And I don't know if you're like me. Took the shackles off my feet so I could dance. I just want to praise him. I just want to praise him. This wasn't Jesus who took the shackles off, by the way. This dude had an unclean spirit, and man-made things could not subdue him. Chains, shackles, they were nothing to this guy anymore. Look at verse 5. Night and day, among the tombs and on the mountains, he was always what? Crying out. Can you hear his anguish? Can you see it? He was always crying out and cutting himself with stones. Would we all agree this guy's quality of life was like less than attractive? I don't like cemeteries. I'll go to funerals, but I don't want to hang out there. Like when I say the word cemetery, immediately life comes to your mind, right? What comes to mind when you think about tombs, graveyards? What comes to mind? Death. This was this dude's home. Constantly, all the time, around death. As a matter of fact, he was on a path that was putting him closer to being in a tomb. This guy is in anguish. He has an unclean spirit, and it's tormenting his soul. Maybe some of you here today, maybe you don't have an unclean spirit. Maybe you're not demon possessed. I hope you're not. But maybe you're going through life and you're facing some things that torment your soul. He goes from the tombs, the graveyards, running up to the top of the mountain. Why did he go to the top of the mountain? I don't know. We can speculate. I don't know. Was it because he was trying to get closer to a heavenly being and just cry out, oh? And then the whole time he's self-harming? Could you imagine what his body looked like? He didn't have a home. He lived in a graveyard. He probably stunk, probably never cut his hair. Bruises, cuts, probably raw, bleeding. This guy's in a bad spot, guys. Look at verse 6. And when he saw Jesus from afar, he ran and fell down before him. Whew, that's a good place to go, ain't it? Maybe some of us today just need to run and, I just want to sit here at your feet. It's a good place to be, guys. I don't know what it is you're struggling with today. There's no sweeter place than to just go sit at the feet of Jesus. Maybe you just need to run and fall down before him today. Look at verse 7. Jesus, right? And crying out with a loud voice, he said, what have you to do with me, Jesus, Son of the Most High God? I adjure you by God, do not torment me. Now, is this the man talking or the unclean spirit? We're going to find that out here in just a second, but this unclean, can we all agree this guy had supernatural power? It won't dunamis power, but it was It was some spiritual power. So we've got some spiritual forces at work here. This guy had supernatural power to rip chains. He was under demonic oppression, and the things that he had chased, do you know what? They didn't bring him to life. They were actually bringing him the complete opposite. And so now there's an interaction. These demons that are dwelling inside this man, they recognize Jesus. Oh yeah, they do. I've been with him before the fall. They know the proper place. Run and lay down at Jesus. Please don't torment us. Look at verse 8. Why were they saying this? Because Jesus, he was saying to him, come out of the man, you unclean spirit. Whew, that's some authority in that. And then Jesus says, verse 9, he asked him, what is your name? And he replied, my name is Legion, for we are many. If you know anything about Roman army centurion culture, which most of us do not, a legion was anywhere from 1,000 to 6,000 or more men that were in a legion. This guy says, my name is Legion, for we are many. The numbers are stacked against Jesus, aren't they? One of you, a whole lot of us. But it wasn't about the number, was it? Because these demons' responses, they're starting to get a little afraid. Please don't torment us. Look at the next verse. Verse 10. And he begged him earnestly, this legion, this unclean spirit, and he begged Jesus earnestly not to send them out of the country. Now a great herd of pigs was there on the hillside. Can you picture this? This is this is awesome, guys. There's like this hillside, right? And there's like pigs. So there's people that are over there minding their own business, working, and there's pigs. And verse 12, and this unclean spirit, and they begged him, saying, send us to the pigs and let us enter them. So what did Jesus do? I love this. Don't miss stuff like this. Jesus gave permission. You know, you don't do anything in this life. Don't do it without his permission. He's the one who has that permission to give. He's got all authority. So he gave them permission, and the unclean spirits came out and entered the pigs, and the herd numbered about 2,000. Can you picture this? You know, like bacon galore. They're all on the side of a hill, guys. Here they go. The unclean spirits came out, entered the pigs, and the herd numbering about 2,000 rushed down the steep bank into the sea and drowned in the sea. Could you imagine the guys who were like over this flock of pigs? What is going on? Hey, where are you going? And then just like do like a half game, like off the cliff, and they drown. Could you imagine the people that were watching the herd running after them, trying to get, because that's their job. I'm fixing to be jobless, by the way. They're running, trying to grab pigs, and they get to the edge, and they're like, oh my gosh, there is 2,000 pigs dead in the water floating. That's a weird picture, guys. And then remember, Jesus' boat was, could you imagine? Like, this is weird. But then look what happens right after that. The herdsmen fled and told it in the city and in the country. So they go back. They go back to their town. They're on the outskirts. They go back and they're like, guys, you're not going to believe this. I know you're paying me to watch the pigs, but they're all dead in the sea. What do you mean they're dead in the sea? You had one job, just keep the pigs safe. Like, keep them safe. I'm just telling you, this guy named Jesus comes up, and the people came to see what it was that had happened. Verse 15. And they came to Jesus. So you remember last week, the woman at the well, she goes to her town and says, come see a man that told me all that there was to know about me. Could this be the Messiah? And what did the town do? They all came out, right? Well, it's kind of the same way. And So they came to see Jesus and saw the demon-possessed man, the crazy. We'll call him Tom. If your name's Tom, I'm sorry, but he had to have a name. It doesn't tell us his name, and they come to see this man named Tom, and he's different. He was the one who had the legion of these unclean spirits, but he's sitting there and he's clothed. Wait, I've never seen this guy like this before. He's not only clothed, but he's in his right mind. He's talking to people, and he's actually like making sense. This guy is like, something's happened in his life. Something has changed. Don't forget that. Something's changed. And you know what their response was? Not, woo, Tom, you're back, buddy. Oh man, it's good to have you back, dude. I'm so glad. Look, when we were tying you up, we were doing that for your own good. But now you're in your right mind. No, you know what it says they were? They were afraid. This is interesting. There's a lot of intricacies going on in this story, and I don't have all the answers for you. But look at verse 16. And those who had seen it, they were witnesses, if you will. They were there, and they saw the whole thing happen. So when the people come from the city and the country, and they come out, they're describing what had happened to them and what happened to the demon-possessed man and to the pigs. And verse 17, this is really sad, guys. Verse 17, and they began to beg Jesus to depart from their region. What? Is anybody else not tracking with them? They began to beg Jesus to leave. Come on now. They didn't have an answer for this man's problems, and they tried in their own power to do whatever they could to try to help this guy, and not even chains or shackles would help him. And now the man gets miraculously healed, and they're like, hey, I need you to leave. You know what I'd have been like? Hey, Jesus, you're pretty powerful. You're pretty amazing. That was awesome. I have an in-law that I need you to come see. I have someone in my family that's got cancer. I need you to come see him right now. Would you come see him, Jesus? I know you're here. You just took a boat ride. You just walked off, and then you met Tom, and now I don't even know. Could you do that for me? What about this family member? What about this coworker? What about my town? What about my kid who's maybe straying or what? Jesus, could you come and do a miracle for us too? And you know what they did? Bye. Please leave. Jesus, we're begging you. Would you please leave our town? Would you leave? And you're like, what on earth is wrong with you people? You have Jesus, the Son of God, dunamis, Holy Spirit, walking on water, miraculous healing at your fingertips, and he's there for you, and they say, can you please leave us alone? I don't have a good answer for you why they did that. There's a lot of people who would say this and that. But look at verse 18. Oh my gosh. I hope that we've never done this in our lives. Because what is Jesus' response to them saying, would you please leave? You know what Jesus did? He left. He left. You know, Jesus is never going to kick down the heart of your door, or the door of your heart. Blew that one. Jesus is never going to force his way into your life. He's not going to do it. If we'll say, come, Jesus, I receive you. I want to confess my sins. And Jesus, I need you. Jesus is there. But the moment you say, I need you to leave, look at what he did. As he was getting into the boat, the man who had been possessed with demons, what did he do? Two sets of beggars. Beggars can't be choosers. That's what they say. Two sets of beggars. This guy who had had an interaction with Jesus begged him that he might be with him. If ever there was a strong candidate for like a 13th disciple, this would be the guy. What a story this guy had. And he begs. You've got one group of people that are like, I'm begging you to get out of here. And then you've got one guy that's like begging you, can I please go with you? I don't know if this story can get any more weird. Guys, I want to tell you today, don't forget your purpose. We're fixing to see it, verse 19. And Jesus did not permit him, but said to him, go home to your friends. Would you go back to your Jerusalem, if you will? Would you go home to your Jerusalem, go home to your friends, and tell them how much the Lord has done for you. Not only that, he says, and I want you to go home and tell your friends just how much mercy has been poured out on you. In other words, Tom, I have a purpose for you, and I know that you want to follow me, but what I need for you to do is to go back home, and I want you to be my witness, martyr, and tell everybody what I've done for you.